Welcome to the Hope a Thing podcast, where we discuss new resources to help Native Americans communities spot and avoid scams. I am Alyssa Atkins, the Training and Development Coordinator for the Native Learning Center. Today on the show, we are excited to have Rosario Mendez, Attorney, Division of Consumer and Business Education, for the Federal Trade Commission, and Kira Crown, Consumer Education Specialist for the Division of Consumer and Business Education. It is so great to have you guys back on the podcast. As always, thank you so much for joining us today. Rosario and Kira, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick and just tell us a little bit about yourselves for those who don't know?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Asa, and thanks everyone. It's really great to be here. My name is Rosario, and I work for the Division of Consumer and Business Education of the Bureau of Consumer Protection of the Federal Trade Commission. So the Federal Trade Commission is the nation's consumer protection agency, and I'm looking forward to talking a little bit today about new resources that we have specifically for Native American communities and some information that we have gathered and data on some of the consumer protection issues that are impacting the communities. The more that people know about scams and frauds that are targeting them and that are impacting them, the more that they're going to be able to spot them and avoid them. And so we hope to share some information with you today with that regards.
I'm very excited. Kira, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Sure. Yes, really quickly. I'm Kira Crown. I also work for the Division of Consumer and Business Education within the Federal Trade Commission. And I work on a lot of different outreach and education initiatives and things with Rosario. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about the report and our new website.
Very excited about your guys' website. I'm not going to spoil it, but very excited for you guys. So my first question is, the FTC recently published a report on consumer protection issues impacting Native American communities. Can you please tell us more about this report?
Yeah, that's right. I'll start with that question. As I mentioned, the Federal Trade Commission is the primary consumer protection agency of the country. So we have a broad mandate to protect all consumers from unfair and deceptive practices or practices that are illegal in the marketplace. So fulfilling that mission requires us to really know how the communities are affected by fraud. And sometimes we know that some communities are affected differently because sometimes the scams even target people differently. So we need to really dig into the communities to find out what kind of consumer protection challenges each community is having. And so we did this last year in 2022, and we looked into what kind of consumer protection challenges the American Indian and Alaska Native communities were experiencing, and how the agency could work to further support the community and help stop scams that are impacting the community, and also give information to people so that they can spot and avoid the scams. So these efforts, we're going to be talking a little bit about what it included, but basically it included listening to the communities. It included collaborating with organizations that work with the AIAN communities, and also included some research and data. And I will go into that a little bit later. But what we did was that we put everything that we found out about identifying all of the information that we gathered when we were looking to identify consumer protection issues that were particularly impacting the Native American communities. We put it all into a report, and we submitted that to Congress in early March. And this was just a really important step, because it's not enough to just gather the information and keep it to ourselves. But we need to share with Congress, we need to share with the public, we need to share with people that work with the AIAN communities, so that they too can disseminate information and consumer protection information to the communities. So that is all part of our work, the way that we work, doing outreach, getting information out to the communities so that people know about scams and frauds, and they can spot them and avoid them when they see one.
Thank you very much for that. And I know you guys know, but for those who are listening, we do have a podcast on the report that you were just discussing of 2022, the consumer report, correct? That's what it's called? Yep. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So we do have that podcast out talking about that report. So if you're interested in it, feel free to click that as well. My next question is, who did you talk to and what issues did you identify by talking to the various community advocates?
So I'll take that one. Through our headquarters and our regional offices, the FTC has 8 regional offices around the country. We spoke with dozens of organizations, including the Native Learning Center, and different advocacy groups, some tribal governments, tribal legal aid attorneys, community media, and many others. In each conversation that we had, we focused on 3 main questions. One was, what consumer protection issues are you seeing or hearing about or experiencing? How could the FTC effectively share information about these issues? And also, who else should we talk to? Some of the topics that came out of these conversations, people highlighted problems with auto purchasing and financing, including deceptive car advertising, a lack of clarity around fees at the dealership. And actually, 2 of our colleagues did a previous podcast about these issues. So highly recommend listening to that. We also heard organizations, and AIAN organizations talked about a prevalence of predatory lending, for example, relating to housing in urban areas. Some people mentioned student loan consolidation. One organization pointed out AIAN populations are more likely to be un- or underbanked than other racial and ethnic groups in the US. The FDIC has also found this. Also, AIAN organizations working with small businesses, tribal colleges and universities, and urban Indian organizations described either encountering or experiencing cybersecurity issues, including ransomware, online phishing scams. One organization talked about receiving a phishing scam that was disguised as an invoice. So very hard to spot. There was talk of more training, a need for information sharing around cybersecurity measures and online safety. There were a number of other topics that were mentioned. We'll talk more about tech support scams, romance scams later on. And then to highlight and bring together free FTC resources on topics like financing a car, managing debt, predatory lending, and other topics that were identified in the report, the FTC launched a new website and this is at ftc.gov/Native American. And that website has links to various resources, information on where to report scams, and how to order free materials from your community. So we recommend everyone go take a look and distribute widely.
Oh my gosh, how amazing, guys. Congratulations. I will make sure to tell everyone about your website. I'm always telling people about your database, and now I'm going to tell everyone about your website.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Kira. My next question is, why do you think impersonators scams are so prevalent? What can people do to avoid falling for the scam?
Well, I think maybe before we do this question, Rosario, do you want to talk about the data a little?
I realized I skipped the question.
And then, well,
Yeah.
that can lead well into this conversation.
Yeah, that is true. So in addition to the conversations that we had with AIAN leaders and community organizations and everything like that. As a complement to those conversations, we also analyzed FTC consumer reporting data, which is, I think, what you were talking about that I know you promote a lot. Our reporting website, reportfraud.ftc.gov, which is the place where people can report any fraud, scams, or any bad business practice that they experience. So staff from the FTC analyzed our data from 2018 to 2022, specifically what we received from majority AIAN communities using the census information and mapping, the reports when people gave their zip code when they filed their report. And what we found was that, communities that basically people that reported from majority AIAN communities to the FTC, the top report was government impersonation scams. So a government imposter. That was the most frequently reported fraud from the community, followed by prize, sweepstakes, and lottery scams. And this is important for us to know because while these frauds were also frequently reported by people in other communities, we do see, for example, in 2022, impersonator scams was the top fraud reported to FTC by any community, by all the communities collectively. What we did see was that in analyzing the data from majority AIAN communities, that a larger share of fraud reports coming from that community had to do with imposter scams, a larger share than from other communities. So even though it's the top complaint from other communities as well, there's the AIAN communities are reporting a larger share. So more of the reports are about government scams than from other communities. And in terms of the prize, sweepstakes, and lottery scams, is a similar situation where other communities also report about prize, sweepstakes, and lottery scams often. But what we saw was that the reports that came from majority AIAN communities were nearly twice the share than other communities. So people do report more often about prize, sweepstakes, and lottery scams in comparison to other communities. And so those are just insights that are important for us to know for law enforcement, but also for outreach, to get the messages out that there are impersonators there, government imposters and business imposters that are trying to trick people into sending them money and personal information. And they work in several ways. They can be they can be calling you, or they can be sending you a text message saying they're from a business or from a government agency, or they could be sending you an email. We did hear, for example, from one of the surveys from the Native Learning Center that you all did for consumer protection. We did hear about people saying that they received emails that looked like they were coming from their tribal government, for example, but it was an impersonator, and they were asking them to send gift cards, Amazon gift cards. So that triggered this person, because they said, my tribal government is not, my tribal leaders are not going to be asking me for Amazon gift cards. This is just not how it works. And so knowing those things are important so that people can be on the alert and be able to spot again the scam and avoid it when it happens. I also want to say that the money lost to fraud from majority AIAN communities was substantial. I mean, we did receive about 7,300 reports between 2018 and 2022, which is, it's not a large amount, but with the reported losses total $12.5 million. So we do know that people do lose money to scammers, and we're just trying to get information out there to help people try to prevent it. And also, the more that we know about the types of scams that happen, the more that we can do something about it.
Of course. That's why I love the FTC so much. You guys have like a report for everything, and it's so thorough. So if you need to find something, you can find it. which is great. So I'm sorry for jumping around.
Oh, no,
but,
that's okay.
but Kira,
Absolutely. So I'll talk a little more about impersonation scams, which is what Rosario just mentioned. They were the top reported scam to the FTC in 2022. So these scams are where a scammer contacts you and pretends to be someone you trust. It can be a government official, a business that you're familiar with, a friend or family member, or even a potential love interest. And their ultimate goal is to try to get your money or personal information, like your social security number or your credit card number. Scammers know that pretending to be someone that you're familiar with and that you trust is a really effective way to get money or personal information. They can take all sorts of forms. Like I mentioned, one is where they pretend to be a friend or family member who's in trouble, who needs you to send them money right away. And these are sometimes called grandparent scams because they'll impersonate people's grandchildren, and, call with some kind of emergency. And we're even hearing, getting reports of artificial intelligence being used for this, where the voice on the other end, the scammer can actually sound like, the family member.
like your loved one. That's so
Mhm.
scary.
Yeah. So it's easy to sit here and say, we could spot these scams. It's much harder to do so in the moment. Some things that we talk about in terms of what you can do if you think you've heard from an impersonator. First and foremost, never give out your personal or financial information to someone who contacts you out of the blue. So government agencies and honest businesses won't contact you out of the blue to demand money or personal information. Second, when in doubt, check it out. So this can help to slow down the scammer. It also might make you feel more confident in telling them no. The important thing is to not use the contact information that the caller gives you or any contact information in the message that you get. That will take you back to the scammer. Instead, do searching on your own and find the real contact information or website. Also, know that caller ID can be faked. Scammers can make any name or phone number appear, but really it could be anyone calling from anywhere in the world. And then finally, do not click on links in unexpected text messages or emails. Find the real contact information yourself. If you click on links, at best, you could wind up contacting the scammer. At worst, it could put, malware on your device or another type of virus.
Wow. Thank you for telling me all of that. That was wow. Like it's very sad that scammers will pull at your emotional strings to get you. But when in doubt, do your research, like you said. Text support and romance scams are two types of impersonator scams. What's your best advice for people to spot these scams and stop before giving money? So pulling on the heartstrings, like how do you go about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that. Those are two types of scams that we did hear about. From the communities when we talk to organizations that work with Native American communities, and also when we talk to advocates and people in the community, they did mention tech support scams and romance scams as being two of the types of impersonator scams that often people encounter. And I can say that tech support scams use many tactics to to trick people, but often a tech support scammers will call and pretend to be a computer technician from a well-known company. So they will say, you'll get a call out of the blue and say that it's Microsoft, and they're just phishing. They're just thinking, oh, a lot of people have Microsoft, so I'm just going to say that it's Microsoft. Or they may say that it's their Apple, or another well-known company, and they're just looking to trick you into believing that it's really the company calling, and they say that there's a problem with your computer, and that they need to get into your computer, so they need access to it. They say that there's something wrong. So my best advice is, if you get a phone call that you didn't expect from someone who says that there's a problem with your computer, hang up. It's most likely is a scam. If you are having problems with your computer, then call, like Kira said, a number that you know to be correct, for the company that you have business with, to help you with your computer. But if someone calls you unexpectedly and says that there's a problem, it's best to hang up, and not engage with that, because most likely it's a scammer. And in a romance scam, what we see is that often people, will meet someone special on a dating website or an app, and soon, they want to email them or call them outside of the platform, because they want to build a relationship with the person. And it all looks legit and real, like there's an actual romance interest there. But what happens is that then the romance interest will ask for money. And the moment that they ask you for money, that should be a red flag, because that is how scammers do this. They build a relationship with someone, over the website and over the dating app, and then once they have their confidence, then they ask for money. I personally talked to someone recently who've lost, over $200,000 to a romance interest. The person said that they were like a high-ranking member of the U.S. Army, and it had pictures of them, in the uniform and all of that. They never met in person. They never had a Zoom, for example. They never saw the person's face. It's all pictures and all phone calls and emails and text messages. So it could be anyone, pretending to be this person. They use stock photos. They use photos that are in the public domain, to fake, this profile. So my best advice is that if you meet someone on a dating app or on a dating website, never send money or gifts to a sweetheart that you haven't met in person. You've never met this person. They could be anywhere in the world. They could be faking it. But if they're asking you for money, then that is a really, really big red flag.
Thank you for telling me about those red flags. Once again, so unfortunate.
I know, and I was gonna say, and we do often see that in romance scams. Lately, the person will ask for, would try to trick you by saying that they can invest money, for example, in cryptocurrency, that they can, that they know, how to the cryptocurrency world works, and that they can invest your money. All you need to do is send them the money. So sometimes they're trying to trick you by just saying, oh, I can help you make more money, if you let me invest your money. And that can also be a sign that you're dealing with a scammer.
You list gift card scams in your webpage for Native American communities. What's that scam about?
The main thing to remember here is that gift cards are for gifts, they're not for payments. As soon as someone tells you to pay them with a gift card, it's a scam. Gift cards are really popular with scammers because they're easy to find and buy, and they have fewer protections than other payment options like credit cards. They're more like cash. So once you use the gift card, the money is gone. if someone calls and asks you to pay them with gift cards, it's a good sign that it's a scammer. And each gift card has a number on the back and a PIN. Once the scammer has that, they have the money on it. So there are many different stories that scammers might try to tell you to get you to pay them with gift cards. There are some themes here that signs that you're dealing with a gift card scam. A number of organizations we met with talked about these types of scams, and whether it's showing up in an impersonator scam where someone's pretending to be calling, from the government, and they're trying to get you to pay with an Apple gift card or another kind of gift card. We heard this over and over again. And again, there's links to information on our new website about all of these scams that we're talking about. So we recommend you go there and find more information. But the signs that you're dealing with a gift card scam. Caller says that something is urgent. They tell you to pay right away or something terrible will happen and pressure you into acting really quickly so you don't have time to think or to talk to someone about it. Often when you start talking to people, you realize that something's off. The caller usually tells you what gift card to buy. So they might tell you to put money on a Google Play gift card, a Target gift card, an iTunes, or they could send you to a specific store like Target or Walmart. Sometimes they tell you to buy cards at several stores so cashiers won't get suspicious. Also, if the caller asks you for a gift card number or a PIN, the scammer uses that information to get the money that you have on the card. And don't give them those numbers. If you do, they can access all the money on the card and you'll lose that money. So we say if you paid a scammer with a gift card, tell the company that issued the card right away. Keep the card and any receipts that you have. And we also recommend we report it to the FTC. So you'll also, once you do that, you'll also get more information on steps to do next.
Which is so great about your website, because once you report a fraud or a scam, it just tells you step by step. Because I have reported some phone calls that I receive. So I always, after I get it, I always receive like the steps, like if this has happened, you should do this. If you haven't already, please do this. So it's very informative and very easy steps to follow and gives you clarity of mind in stressful situations like that. So with that being said, what can people do if they were scammed? I know you said report it.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. There on our new website at ftc.gov/Native American, we have a link to an article called "What to Do If You Were Scammed" that gives you steps that you can take if you actually paid a scammer, and the steps to take depend on how you paid, and or if you gave them information instead of money, for example. So, for example, if you pay with a credit or a debit card, it's important to contact the company that issued the credit card or the debit card. If you pay with a credit card, you have a little more, a little more protection against fraud. But what is important is to report it to the company that issued the credit card or the debit card immediately and ask them to reverse that fraudulent transaction and to give you your money back. So that's one way. If you pay with a gift card, like Kira just said, it's important to immediately, as soon as you realize that this was a scam and that you've given the gift card numbers to a scammer, to contact the company that issued the gift card and tell them that it was issued, that it was used, in a scam, and ask them to refund the money. And again, keep the gift card and the receipt and see, follow up with the company to see what happens. Sometimes they can get the money. It's difficult, but sometimes they can do it. So if you do it quickly enough. So that's why our advice is, to do it as soon as you can. If you send wire a wire transfer to, and then you realize that it went to a scammer, again, contact the wire transfer company. And on our website, on the link to the article that I just mentioned, we have the contact information for the main wire transfer companies and also for the main gift card companies, so that it's easy for you to go exactly, to the website or to the phone number of the company that you used. If you pay with cryptocurrency, if you pay with cash, if you paid with a money order, there are other steps that you can take. Unfortunately, with cryptocurrency and with cash, for example, they're pretty much not reversible. But we do have some advice on our page. If you get a scammer your personal information, then that is really important to know, especially if you give the scammer your social security number. Then we suggest that you go to identitytheft.gov and see what steps to take, including how to monitor your credit report to make sure that no one is using it to open accounts that you didn't authorize. So that's a step, to protect yourself from identity theft. But if you gave the scammer, for example, your username and password, if it was, for example, a tech support scam, then, there are other steps to take, like creating a new and strong password. So that, because now your password was compromised. So it really does depend on the scam, but we do have advice and step-by-step advice that can help you. Again, you can find that article at ftc.gov/Native American, and the article is called "What to Do If You Were Scammed."
Thank you for that. I will for sure. I'm going to tell everybody about this, about your website. I'm very, very excited for you guys, and I'm very happy that it's up and people can actually use these resources now. And it's made, specific for Native Americans. So it just helps overall, and especially since the community is being targeted, and you guys were able to help locate that target and get rid of it. That's just amazing. So I have one more question. What other resources do you have for people who want to help disseminate consumer protection education in our communities?
I can take that. So one thing we recommend people do if they want to stay up to date on the latest scams is to subscribe to our consumer alerts. And you can do this at ftc.gov/consumer alerts. And those are, we put out usually a few every week, and they address, things we're hearing from partners, what we're seeing in consumer reports. So that is a really good way to stay up to date on how scams are evolving. They have actionable steps that you can take to spot and avoid scams and information for how to report them. Rosario, is there anything else you'd recommend?
Yeah, I would just say that our new page, ftc.gov/Native American, also lists some other free resources that you can use to share information in your community. You can order, for example, free publications from the FTC, and there's a link on the page on how to do that. If you allow yourself 3 to 4 weeks for delivery, but it's completely free to order, and shipping and everything is free. Some people like to have printed publications, at their events. So that's an easy way to get how to avoid scams information in the community. And then there's also links to other parts of our website, like Money Matters, which offers information on how to tackle common money issues that, we all face, the sort of issues related to credit reports, issues related to borrowing and managing debt, borrowing money and managing debt, things like that. And there's other links on the page also for resources that anyone who want to give a presentation on one of the consumer protection topics on scams can use some presentations that we already have ready to be used, and anyone can use them to teach others about scams and frauds. So those are just some of the resources that we have. I would say that the ftc.gov/Native American page is a landing page that links to all of other information within our website. And from there, you can get to, all the other topics, including the information to small businesses. And so yeah, so I would just go to the page to see all the resources that we have available for you.
Yay! Thank you so much. Everyone, if you haven't checked out the website, you should. And of course, we'll have it in the linked description box as well, so everybody could just click away. That brings our episode to an end. Thank you so much, Rosario and Kira. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, on the show, and I just really appreciate your guys' insight and information. And this website is incredible, so congratulations, and thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, thanks for listening to the Hope a Thing, a Native American podcast. If you enjoy our show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Also, visit our website, www.nativelearningcenter.com, to find information on upcoming webinars and virtual trainings. Thank you so much, guys.
Great. Thank you.